On Sunday, Pastor Rachel reminded us that when Jesus sets the table, sets a feast for his friends, he does so more like a servant than like a king. Instead of this lavish banquet in an incredible hall with gilded towers and pillars, he does so around a simple table in a borrowed room using a borrowed cup. And he says that he's our servant and that we are called to serve in the same way that he does. So even as he is our Lord and our Master, he serves us and calls us to do the same to those who are around us. And there's this one moment after they leave this space and walk towards the Garden of Gethsemane that I think is really key for us to remember as we think about what it means to follow this God. So after they celebrate the Passover together and they sing a hymn, they leave that space where they have been served and they go towards the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus is going to be wrestling with what he has been called to do. And on the way, he tells them something amazing. This is in Mark chapter 14, verse 27. He says, "You will all fall away from me," Jesus says, "for it is written, I will strike the shepherd and the sheep will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee." Now there's two things in here that I think are really important for us to remember. The first is that Jesus says they will all fail, just like we all fail. We try to follow and yet we do things that we know we shouldn't. We try to follow and yet we don't do things that we know we should. We do all kinds of things all the time that fail to follow Christ. We don't serve like he has called us to serve. Instead, sometimes we long to be served instead. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that we fail. We know this. But Jesus says that's not the end of the story. He says, yes, you are all going to fail. And even though Peter and all of the disciples say, there's no way, we're never going to fail. Jesus says, yeah, you will. You're going to fail. But that's not the end of the story. After I've risen, after all that has gone on is going to happen, all that has been promised is going to happen. After I've defeated death itself and removed all the punishment that has come upon humanity for the things that we do that are wrong, for the ways in which we hurt ourselves and others. After that is all done, I'm going to go ahead of you in Galilee, and I'm going to meet you there. Jesus says that our failures are not the end of the story. There is forgiveness, there is fresh start, and there is renewal that is offered through the Spirit. So maybe you need to hear today that you are not defined by your failures. Yes, Jesus says you will fail, and we will fail again, and we have failed. But that's not the end of the story. He goes to meet us, and he comes to us and reinstates us as his people every single time we fail, if we come back to him sincerely asking for forgiveness.